These were not the ancestors who blessed and guided. These were the twisted dead, souls warped by the curse that Nyana had unknowingly birthed. "You returned to finish what you began?" it hissed. Elira tried to speak, but the Thorn King stepped forward. "She came to break it." The spirit snarled. "She came to unravel us." From the roots, more spirits rose, men and women shaped like trees, with masks for faces and thorns for fingers. Their presence made the forest wilt in waves. Birds fell silent. The wind hid. Even the sky dimmed. One stepped forward. Her face was that of an elder woman, mouth filled with cola nuts and her eyes hollow like a gourd. Love birthed this curse. Love will not unmake it. Only blood can do that. Elira stood tall, though her legs trembled. "I will not run," she said. "You ran once before," the spirit snapped. "You cursed him because the world would not change for your love. Now you return with another name, hoping to forget." She clenched her fists. "I haven't forgotten. I remember everything." The spirits recoiled, hissing, but the Thorn King stepped beside her, placing a vine-wrapped hand on her shoulder. "Elira," he said, "sing." "What?" He turned to her, his thorn crown glowing faintly. "Your voice that remembers more than your blood. It carries what the roots have tried to bury." Elira closed her eyes. Her mother used to sing while preparing herbs, a haunting, humming song that made fireflies gather and made shadows lean in to listen. She thought it nonsense then, but now she remembered. Nyana had sung that song too, to Ikeen, to the river, to the unborn love she never got to hold. So Elira opened her mouth and sang, not in perfect words, but in tone. The melody wrapped around the spirits, making their bark-formed bodies pause. The forest listened. The roots stopped pulsing. The Thorn King fell to his knees, not in pain, but in reverence. Because the forest remembered too. The spirits writhed. The song pulled their grief into light. The love they had buried was being unearthed, and it hurt. "You must stop," one whispered, "or we will fade." Elira kept singing, not to destroy them, but to release them. Each note she sang tore at the vines that bound the spirits to this plane. One by one, they cracked like dry wood and turned into petals, drifting into the air. Only one remained, the elder woman with the gourd eyes. "You think you are free?" she asked, voice trembling. "You think love is enough now?" Elira looked at her. "No, but it's stronger than the hate we buried." The elder cracked, flowered, and disappeared in a cloud of red blossoms. When Elira stopped singing, the forest was still. Then, from the trees, came a soft breeze, like a grandmother's sigh. The Thorn King stood. His vines had loosened. His crown no longer bled. His eyes, still dark, now reflected her own. "I remember the first time I heard your voice," he said. She smiled through tears. "I remember you." But peace would not come easily. The soil was calm, but deep beneath it, something deeper had felt her song. Something older than the curse, older than even love. And it had awakened. The forest held its breath. Not a single bird cried. Not a single leaf dared to fall. Something beneath the soil had awakened. Older than the Thorn King, older than the curse, older than names. And it had heard Elira's song. She felt it before she saw it. A vibration that rolled up her legs, through her spine, and into her skull like a forgotten war drum. Her skin prickled. Her vision swam. The Thorn King touched her arm. "It is coming. What is it?" He did not answer, because even he, guardian of the threshold, had no name for what lay beneath the Aji. The trees began to bleed. From cracks in the bark, thick black sap oozed like oil, painting the forest in streaks of grief. Flowers withered in seconds. The forest turned red, then gold, then red again. At the very heart of the jungle, past paths that twisted into themselves, they found it, a grove that should not exist. The air was thick and cold, despite the afternoon sun above. In the center was a throne made of roots and skulls, and behind it stood the Tree of Judgment. It was ancient and monstrous, Its bark gnarled into shapes of screaming faces. Teeth jutted from its trunk. Its roots pulsed like veins, and its branches held no leaves, only thorns. And at its base, the altar, Elira stepped forward. Her feet knew the way before her mind did. Her heartbeat slowed. The Thorn King called out, but she could not stop. The tree began to speak, not with words, but memories. Visions flashed before her. Nyana's hands crafting the curse, Ikin's death, the spirits trapped in sorrow. Then a choice. To end the curse, the tree thundered in her bones. Blood must answer blood. Elira saw the truth. She could break the curse in two ways. She could give her life, her true life, the soul that had spanned generations, back to the soil, freeing the Thorn King from his eternal prison. Or she could offer her love to the forest entirely, body and soul, to become its next guardian. She would take the Thorn King's place. She would never leave, never touch light again, but he would be free. She turned to him. The Thorn King's face was no longer a mask of vines and shadow. She saw Ikin, soft, broken, hopeful. "Don't," he whispered. "I was meant to be cursed. It was my punishment, not yours. You are cursed for loving me. You gave me love. I gave you pain." Elira walked forward and kissed him. Their lips met beneath the tree of judgment, and the entire forest shook. From their kiss, blood bloomed. Her nose began to bleed. The earth cracked beneath her feet. Thorns erupted from the roots and wrapped around her arms, not in violence, but in binding. She turned to the altar and pressed her hands into the soil. "I offer myself," she said, voice like wind before rain, "not to die, but to become." The vines pierced her palms. The roots crawled up her spine. The sky turned red. The Thorn King screamed, but the forest roared louder. A new crown began to form on Elira's head, not of iron or bone, but of fire and bark and blossoms. Her eyes glowed with green flame. Her skin began to harden in places, her blood running with sap. The Thorn King fell to his knees. His vines loosened. His thorns dissolved. He looked up at her. Elira no longer a bride, no longer a sacrifice, but a goddess reborn. "You're free," she said. But as he faded, his physical form returning to the dust from which it had grown, he wept. "Don't leave me again." Elira's voice became thunder. "Then stay." She reached out with her new power, touching his vanishing form, and commanded the forest. Roots surged. Time twisted. She did not undo his release, but she did not let him fade completely. She tied his spirit to hers. A ghost, a companion, a whisper in her leaves. They would not love as they once did, but they would not be alone. The tree of judgment cracked open. Its screams turned to silence. And where blood had once flowed, blossoms bloomed. Bright, crimson, unnatural. The curse had ended, but something new had taken root, and it wore Elira's face. They say no one enters Aji anymore. Not even the boldest hunters. Not even the rain. The trees no longer whisper names. They chant one. Neoma. Not Elira. Not Nyana. Neoma of Thorns. The goddess of blooming blood. The bride who stayed. Years passed, but she did not age. Where once the forest choked on sorrow, now it thrived. Vines blossomed in crimson and gold. Yam fields at the forest's edge overflowed. The river, once still, danced again. The people of Yumadim prospered, but they did not forget. They left offerings at the forest's edge, kola nuts, carved wooden masks, and bundles of herbs wrapped in palm leaves. None dared cross the invisible line where Aji began. They knew better. They feared her, but they also revered her. In the deepest part of the forest, where only spirits tread, Neoma walked barefoot among the roots. Her skin shimmered with bark light. Her eyes glowed with the quiet knowing of things both lost and found. She wore a mantle of living vines. Her crown bloomed with flame-red petals and thorns that curved like horns. She did not speak often, but when she did, the forest obeyed. When she laughed, fruit ripened. When she wept, it rained. And sometimes, when the moon was red and full, she sang. The spirits leaned in when she did. Even the trees stilled their breath, because her songs were not just memory. They were summoning. He returned on the seventh moon, not as a man, not as a god, but as a ghost of light, bound to her by love's last breath. The Thorn King, Ikin, walked beside her again, barefoot, weightless, with a smile softer than bark and eyes that held no pain. He could not touch, but he could be near. And sometimes, when she sang the song they once danced to, the air shimmered and his fingers almost brushed hers. Some say they still walk the forest at night, lovers with roots deeper than memory. Others say she rules alone, her heart a thorn too sharp to hold again. Both stories are true, because love, when bound in blood and earth, does not forget. It blooms, and it waits. Sometimes it becomes a song, sometimes it becomes a forest, and sometimes it becomes a woman who chose to stay behind. The Bride of Thorns, Neoma, Keeper of Sorrow, Guardian of Bloom, Goddess of love that will never die.